How to find the perfect offer price for your wholesaling real estate deals. What is up, guys? Zach Ginn here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how to calculate the best offer price, how to figure out exactly how much you should offer your motivated sellers, and most importantly, how you can get the most accurate comps, the most accurate repair cost estimates, so you can figure out if you have a legit deal or not, and exactly how much to offer your motivated sellers. Now, before we get into it, do me a big favor, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and let's break it all down. So the first thing you have to understand when it comes to finding the perfect offer price, figuring out MAO and all these crazy strategies, is you're just really sweating it too much. I can tell you guys from experience, from dealing with so many new wholesalers, you are sweating the offer amount. Stop sweating the offer amount. You guys are beating yourselves up on how to get everything perfectly calculated. And the honest truth is, you are not going to be perfectly calculated on what your MAO or your offer price is. Whatever you get the property under contract for, remember, you're just selling that contract to a cash buyer for anything above that. And the cash buyer doesn't have an exact formula if they're going to say yes or no to that deal. They're going to make a best guess if they should go after it or they shouldn't. Now, the thing I think you really have to understand here is the best offer is just a lowball offer. Seriously, you've probably heard me say it a million times, but go for the no. When you're talking to your motivated sellers and you give that offer price, whatever offer you give, make sure the seller says no on the first one. Because with that counter, you're gonna get the lowest price the seller possibly has, and that's gonna lead to you getting the property under contract for the best price possible. So just lowball your sellers. And let me break down exactly how to lowball them. So the point of why I'm telling you guys to lowball is you're just gonna have to be in a range. And if you know really a good range of where a cash buyer is roughly gonna buy the property at, you know exactly how to lowball to see if this offer is gonna make me $30,000, $40,000, or even $50,000 on one deal. To do this, to create this range, what we're gonna do is figure out what the MAO, or what we call the max allowable offer. Now, the max allowable offer is basically gonna tell us what's the most that we can offer the seller for us to break even on the deal. For example, if I calculate that my MAO or my max allowable offer is $100,000 on this property, from my calculations, that is the most a cash buyer is willing to buy the property for. So if I lock it up for $100,000 and I sell it for $100,000, I'm gonna make zero money on this deal. But if I get the property under contract for, let's say, $99,000, that means I can assign it for $1,000 and have the cash buyer buy it for $100,000, which will give me $1,000 in profit. I think you guys understand where I'm going at this. The point is we want to be below that MAO price. So roughly I want to be around 90, 85, 80, so I can make at least $10, $15, $20,000. But honestly, there's no set range of what's perfect. I know a lot of people make their offer formulas where they want to put where their assignment fee should be in there, but I really truly think it's the stupidest thing ever. If you're going to make $1,000 on a deal, you're going to take it. So don't put what your minimum assignment fee is going to be. If you're gonna make money, you should definitely still do it. So this is my MAO formula for 2023, and it's pretty simple. It's ARV minus repairs multiplied by 70, 75, 80, 83, or even 85%, depending on what the ARV is. So if the ARV is below $120,000, use the 70% rule. But every $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 the ARV jumps, your cash buyers are more likely to pay less of a discount of the ARV minus repairs. And you are more likely to get better deals when the ARV is lower. Your motivated seller is more likely to lock up a deal with you for $70,000 on a deal that's worth $100,000 versus a deal that's maybe worth $500,000. You have to lock up that deal for $350,000, and most sellers at that point don't want to take a $150,000 reduction. But for a $100K house, they're willing to take the $30,000 reduction. This is why we can increase our percentages when the ARV gets higher due to this formula. So let's talk about this. ARV minus repairs. What does that equal? ARV minus repairs is basically what the property is worth right now, just true book value. Think about it. ARV is after repair value minus the repairs. That will give us what the thing is actually worth. So if the property is really new and it's renovated and it looks great, it should be worth, let's say, $150,000. But let's say it needs about $50,000 in repairs. That means book value, it'll take $50,000 to make that property worth $150,000. Now, because it needs those renovations and a lot of work and there are some risks on this deal, your cash buyer is going to want to at least buy it for 70% of that $100,000. There's closing costs and other fees with that. Now, once the ARVs start rising, they might be willing to take 80% of the ARV minus repairs, 83, and even on bigger properties, 85%. So the biggest question is, how do I figure out what ARV is? ARV is actually pretty simple to calculate and find. All you gotta do is find what we call comps or comparable values. How do you do this? If your property right here is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and let's say it's 1,200 square feet, and it was built, let's say in 1984, we're gonna try to find other similarly looking properties to that and see what they sold for recently. So in the area, let's say for that subdivision, we're gonna look for other 3-2s that are around 1,200-ish square feet, maybe some that are 1,000, maybe some that are 1,400, and we're gonna figure out what those 3-2s are selling for. So the general rule of thumb for finding ARV is we wanna stick to the same subdivision. We don't wanna really go above or below 200 square feet. We wanna make sure it's within a decade. So I wanna look at properties built in 1975, all the way to properties built in 1995, within that range. And we wanna make sure it's the same bed and bathrooms. From there, we can figure out what the price per square foot is being sold for and use that for our own property. Now, we're only looking for the nice houses, the ARVs, and you'll get some ranges and you'll figure out, you know what, based on everything, the ARV in this property is $150,000. Now here's the fun part. Now we gotta figure out what the repairs are. And how do I figure out repair costs? Repair costs are actually not that complicated. Now you can get really nitty gritty and calculate everything perfectly. But honestly, what I found, just use this really easy handy dandy chart and it'll figure out roughly how much repairs have to be with the square footage. So it's done by light, medium, and heavy repair costs. I would go to freewholesaling.com, my free real estate wholesaling course, to figure out what constitutes a light repair, medium repair, or heavy repair. I actually have video examples of properties I've actually flipped that are light, medium, and heavy, so you can make the best determination on which one should be in your repair costs. The point here, guys, is you can figure out what ARV minus repairs multiply whatever it's gonna be, so MAO, within 5 to 10 minutes at most. I don't want you guys spending hours and hours and hours comping one property. It should be a 10, 15 minute thing tops if it's an actual motivated seller on the deal. Now here comes the big question. Okay, Zach, I know what the MAO is, but how much should I offer? Here's the honest truth. Throw MAO out the window. MAO does not matter. That is not what we should be focusing on. We should know what it is and have it in the back of our heads, but we don't want to be near MAO, because if we're near MAO, we're making less money. We want to be away from that, way less than that. So if I figured out my MAO for this property is $70,000, I want to be way below that. So the general rule of thumb is your initial offer needs to be at least 20 to 25% of your MAO. So just multiply 75% of what your MAO is, and that should generally be what your offer price should be. So if I figured out that the MAO for a property is $70,000, I want to be below 75% of that. So my offer would be $52,500. Now it can definitely be below that, but that's just at a minimum. Now, if I figured out my MAO is $150,000, I'm going to multiply that by 75%, and I'm going to offer off the bat at least $112,000, or if I do the calculations perfectly, $112,500. The point here is, once I multiply my MAO by 20, 25, even 30%, that is not an MAO anymore. That is what we call LAO, our least allowable offer. What's the least we can offer without the seller being super offended from? And from what I've seen statistically, LAO is the best thing to be going after. I promise you, if you go for the low ball and not for the MAO, you'll do well. The last thing we gotta talk about is how the 70% rule absolutely sucks. If you have a guru, a real estate investor that's telling you to use the 70% rule, you gotta stop listening to them. The 70% rule is super outdated, super antiquated, that does not work for modern wholesalers. Maybe in 2002, 2003, it was fine, but in this market right now, you have to lowball, listen to what your cash buyers are at, and get the best contract prices possible. If you want to learn more exactly how to do this, go to my free real estate wholesaling course, freewholesaling.com, and make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys at freewholesaling.com. This is Zach Ginn signing out. Have a blessed one.